Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Hi. I just wanted to let you know that we will be getting started fairly soon, and I do know that we have quite a few people here. So if there are some free seats in there, if people wouldn't mind scooting in just so we can let people sit. We do have a row up here as well, right, the second row from the front. So if we can just make space for some neighbors or people who might need to sit, that would be great. We're just going to welcome a few more people in and get started fairly soon. So thank you for your patience. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I was just saying to my colleagues, it's great to be in a community where we feel the care and the passion for our community. And so thank you for having us here and being willing to come and take part of this conversation tonight about something that matters very much. My name is Carolyn Parody. I am going to be your facilitator for this evening. And there are a lot of you here today. So thank you very much. So we will do our best to get to all these questions, but we are here to have a conversation and an update on what's happening with the Big Country Hospital. So tonight I want to acknowledge that we have several leaders in the audience, but before we get started, we want to start in a good way. So I'm going to ask Trevor to come up and acknowledge the land where we are.
Thank you, Carolyn, and welcome everybody, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us tonight. So to start our meeting in a good way, we want to respectfully acknowledge the land on which we reside as the traditional meeting place and home of the many Indigenous peoples as identified in Treaties 6 and 7, the Métis Nation and Alberta Region 3. This region is on the traditional home of many Indigenous people and is also home to many urban Indigenous peoples with rich histories, cultures. We honor and respect the history and language, ceremonies and cultures of the First Nation, Métis, Inuit, non-status Indigenous peoples whose presence and culture enrich our communities. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. And so tonight, we are here, AHS reps are here to chat with you today about, just give me a moment here, to hear about some of the challenges that's facing the Big Country Hospital, and to tell you more about how AHS is going to continue to work to resume services at the site. You're going to hear from some local leadership, briefly first, and then we're going to have a conversation where we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. Now, I know we have a lot of people here in the room tonight, and so I will say we probably won't get to every question, but we want to dedicate some time to that. So, first of all, we are going to have some a brief presentation, just give you an update on what's happening, and then we can talk and open the floor to have some conversations. So one thing I am going to ask is maybe just that you do hold your questions until after, when we have that time to have that conversation. And if you have a question or something that we just don't get to, many of you would have met Christine at the back when you came in. And we have some papers and things so that if you have questions that you'd like us to follow up on, we would be happy to take those. We have several of our officials here tonight, and let me just check here. I believe we have the mayor, Doug Jones. We have the Reeve of the MD of Acadia, Peter Raffa. I think Jordan Christensen, who's the chair of the Special Areas Board, is here, and I believe MLA Nate Horner is also here today. So I don't know if you want to give a quick wave. Thank you. So, MLA Horner, did you want to say a few welcoming comments?
Yeah, thank you. I'll be brief. I'm glad to see that the Legion is so full. I knew it would be. Nothing more important than local healthcare access, especially in a center like Oyen, which truly is a regional hub. These fine people are going to walk you through tonight some of their plans for the future, both short-term and long, how we're going to get through this short service disruption, and how we're going to be stronger coming out the other end. There's some systemic challenges in healthcare across the country, across Alberta. The challenges here are unique, but I do believe we have a way to fix them with local support, and we'll be better coming out the other side. I spoke to the health minister numerous times in the last couple days, but I spoke to him this morning on my drive here. He's well aware. He wanted me to definitely give the message that this is going to be short term, that there's nothing permanent about this. And although it's unfortunate, he's well aware, the administrator of AHS is well aware, and we're going to get through this, and no one needs to worry about long-term concerns. So I'm glad you're here. These guys will tell you the how and the why, but we will get through this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just going to take a moment to let you know who we have here from AHS and who you have in the panel. So joining us virtually today, you'll see Linda Owasu, who is the Chief Zone Officer for the South Zone here at Alberta Health Services. We're also joined by Dr. Erin Lowe, who is the Zone Medical Director. We have Dr. Dow Kitts also online, who is the Associate Zone Medical Director. Here in the room, and I'll ask each of you to maybe raise your hand to let everyone know who you are. We have Alison Landreville, who is the Director for Rural East. We have Ernie Broydell, who's the Director for Human Resources Business Partnerships. Scott Halsworth, who's the Director of EMS Operations. Andrea Ames, who's the Interim Site Manager. And we also have Trevor Nava, who's the Senior Operating Officer for Rural East, Public Health and Primary Care. And so with that, I'm going to ask Linda to start with us. So Linda, maybe we're going to just test your sound and get you started.
Okay, testing.
Can you hear?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
How's it in the back for you?
Turn it up.
Turn it a little closer, Alice. Okay, I think that might be as loud as we can get.
Okay.
Linda, project.
Okay, I will try to talk very loudly, and hopefully it will project. Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's good, Linda.
Okay, let me give this a try. So thank you very much, and my sincere apologies for not being on site today. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining us on this important topic this evening. As Minister Horner or as MLA Horner has indicated, we want to reassure you that the service disruption that we're going to be talking to you about tonight at the Big Country Hospital is temporary. We do understand that there is concern in the community and conversations in the community that we are moving towards permanent. And please be assured that we have no intentions of making this permanent. We recognize that our facilities are an important part of the fabric of each of our communities, and that any change in service, of course, is very concerning, no matter what that change will be. And our goal is that we're going to be collectively working together to make the service disruption as short as possible and resume all services as quickly as possible. So that is our shared goal, so that we would be reopening the emergency department 24/7 and putting back in place our inpatient beds. Specifically, as soon as possible, is contingent on having stabilized staff back in place, and that the services would remain then open for the years to come. Before we get into the details of the service disruption, I want to acknowledge and personally apologize for the time it has taken for us to make a change in site management at the Big Country Hospital. We know there have been issues. We know that you have been sharing to accept complete responsibility and accountability for the situation that has evolved. Many of you are aware that we earlier this week announced an interim site manager. I can share with you this evening that the previous site manager will not be returning to that role. We are In the meantime, Andrea Ames, who I believe is with us today and will be on site at Big Country Hospital tomorrow, will continue as the interim manager as we then proceed to do the recruitment of somebody to a permanent position. We're confident that with your support, she can bridge the gap and begin working with you towards creating that site culture of respect and trust. We understand that there have been long-standing issues at the site, and I've been reflecting on how did we get here. So just some context, over the past decade, as we've all settled into becoming South Zone within Alberta Health Services, we've had a number of leadership changes at the various levels above the site the manager. What this has resulted in is inconsistencies and lack of continuity contributing to the current situation. Please again accept my sincere apologies. We will strive to do better, we must do better, and you deserve better. Our hope is that we can move together forward and can regain your trust. We know that we have to work to do that. I'm committed to making sure that we put that work in with your support to get to a better place, but we can't do it alone, and we can't do it without the work of the community, the site, and our healthcare providers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your passion around your community and health services, and for working with us to get the Big Country Hospital services reopened as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back to Carolyn.
Thank you, Linda. I'm going to ask if Trevor can come up and start sharing a bit of update with you.
Thank you, Carolyn, and welcome everybody again. My name is Trevor Nebb. I'm one of the Senior Operating Officers for the South Zone, overseeing the regional facilities in the southeast part of the zone. So first and foremost, before I get into some of the details and slides, I do want to take a minute and just acknowledge and thank and commend all of our staff and physicians and first responders in the area that provide dedicated service. That provide dedicated service on a regular basis, that go above and beyond every single day to ensure that care is provided for those that need it. So thank you. On behalf of our AHS executive team, I also want to extend a sincere thank you for the sacrifice that all of you have made, both individually and your families. We know that the work never ends, and we know, especially with the Big Country Hospital, that we've been short-staffed. So for those that work as part of our care team, we thank you over and over for going above and beyond and making personal sacrifices and sacrifices for your families as well as you attend to the work that needs to be there. So, staffing really is a critical ingredient of what we provide in terms of healthcare. It really is the heart and soul of our services. And so that is no different with the Big Country Hospital, and the services that we provide truly are dependent on the staff that we have. We're very fortunate that we have great staff that work within the site, that have been there previously, that continue to work in various capacities. We are very grateful for them. But when we as an organization look at the staffing that we currently have and the services that are at the hospital, we are really strained. And it is a big strain on those staff that we have to continue to try and operate 24-hour services with a limited number of staff. And so with that, Alberta Health Services, we have made the difficult decision to implement a temporary service disruption. And so what that means is our emergency department here in Oyen will be open 7 days a week from 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening. But after that, in the evenings from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., the emergency department will be closed. Our emergency department and our acute care unit are come in a bundle. So our staff and our nurses that work in the emergency department also cover the acute care. And so as we looked at the staffing, we looked at the services and what was required to provide patient care, we also had to make the difficult decision to temporarily implement a service disruption for our acute care beds. And so with that, we've had to, as of January 16th on Monday, temporarily closing the 10 acute care beds. We know that the hospital is important to the community for a number of reasons. Probably first and foremost, for the care that people need in the community, for access to health care. And I apologize that we're having to implement this service disruption. I also recognize that the hospital is not just the place where people go for care, but it is also vital for the community of Oyen and surrounding communities, for the vibrancy of the area. And so for that, I apologize as well. But you have my commitment and the commitment of Linda and our team that we will do what we can to make this service disruption as short as possible. Really appreciate working with the Mayor Jones and the elected officials in the area and their participation and willingness to work with us. We really do want to end this service disruption as soon as possible, and you have our commitment to continue to work with the community now and through the service disruption. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Allison.
Thanks, Trevor. So I wanted to just paint a picture for everyone where we're at right now with our staffing. We have a total of 7 positions in our acute care.
Allison, I'm just going to point out, if people don't know, we have some slides up on the side here that if you just want to take a look, and that should give a little bit of guide to the conversation.
Thank you. So as you can see, we have a total of 7 RN positions for our ED and acute care. Right now, 5 of those positions are vacant, and you can see they're all part-time positions, and those are the FTEs for them. We also have 6 LPN positions, and 1 of them is vacant right now, and that's a 0.5, so a half-time position. You can switch to the next slide. We also have challenges in our long-term care. So we have 1 full-time RN position that is vacant, and that's out of a total of 6 total positions. And we have 3 RN positions, sorry about that. 3 RN positions that are currently vacant, and we have 1 full-time healthcare aide position that's vacant. So really creating a huge amount of challenge and strain that are on our current staff to continue to provide the 24/7 services. So I'd also like to then move on to our next slide, where we talk about some recruitment and retention efforts. So I'm going to talk about the Rural Capacity Investment Fund, and then Ernie from Human Resources will provide some additional information. So the Rural Capacity Investment Fund is a committee. There's 2 committees. One is set up under the United Nurses of Alberta, and so that's for the registered nurses, and one is for the AUP Auxiliary Group, which is the LPNs and the HCAs. And so we've submitted for the unit group, for the RNs. There's been 4 submissions sent into that committee to look at and decide on. So 2 of them were developed within the site, and they are related to mentorship of new staff and accommodations for staff. And the other 2 that I've submitted that are for all the rural sites that I support will be for looking at mileage support and support for recruitment bonuses for new staff to try to recruit and retain. And that is the goal of that capacity investment fund, is recruiting and retainment of staff. And the AUP Auxiliary Group is just getting started, so we haven't been able to submit anything yet for that group. And I'll turn it over to Ernie.
Thank you, Allison. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Some of the things that we want to talk about is our casual polls. One of the things we did prior to the end of this last fiscal year, or calendar year, is we did an audit within Alberta Health Services, and we realized a lot of our casuals aren't active in the system. So what we're doing in the last 2 months is trying to re-engage those people to see if they're willing to come back to work with Alberta Health Services. So that's underway now, it's evolving, but we have a list of people that we're hoping will be willing to come back to work within Alberta Health Services. Grow your own, this is important. One of the things we're starting to see in the data trend is we're having a hard time recruiting to our rurals. A lot of our younger workforce is not coming to the rurals, or staying within the metros or the urban areas. And so what we've started to identify is how do we get our local environments to grow people in the medical environment. So one of the things we've done within Alberta Health Services right now for our rural capacity zones is we've created what's called a healthcare aid initiative. There's LPN ones doing it in other zones, and there's ones for RNs as well with their colleges. What the healthcare aid initiative is really trying to target people, for example, out of high school, looking for work, can't go to a big city, pay for a university degree. It gets them into the healthcare system.
Somebody whose life has changed, they're mature, they want to get back in the workforce. Somebody who works for us who wants to change. What the Healthcare Aid Initiative is a 0.4 offering of an FTE, which generally means 2 days a week, where we pay somebody that's not regulated to come work for us, and we get them educated while they work for us to become a healthcare aide. When that's in the system, that can then branch to an LPN or an RN. So it's important for us to look how we grow our own. We really need to focus on that, and that's a big initiative that we're starting to take on. And like I said, in other zones, they're doing it with LPNs, and they're doing it with RNs. So that's going to grow more. International educated nurses, IENs when you see it. What we've discovered with the data is we get a lot of postings now that stay up longer than 90 days, and we're not getting applicants. So according to Immigration Canada, that's one of the criteria to meet to say we can now recruit outside of Canada and look for internationally educated nurses and bring them into Canada. So we have developed 5 cohorts to come to Alberta this year, 2023. Of those cohorts, there's around 90 RNs and 10 LPNs in each cohort. They are getting assessed now, and once they get assessed, probably by the end of February, we're going to start deploying them within the zones. We are going to put Oyen forward as one of those cohorts to look for RNs to come within these facilities and LPNs. There are 5 cohorts. The first 1, 2, 3 are for rural zones only. Waves 4, 5 are for all of Alberta Health Services. We expect by May, June, that these IENs will start to come within our communities. They require a 0.8 to 1.0 FTE as part of Immigration Canada. We'll be working with that and looking at that as well. And what that really has to happen is we're going to look at 2 cohorts in one community so they feel stable and safe. So that's also underway. Post-secondary institutions. AHS, the talent acquisition team, they're focused and targeted on career events much more now within Canada and internationally. We've learned that TA speaks to graduating nurses at the U of L, Mount Royal, University of Calgary, and University of Alberta purposely for rural recruitment opportunities. We're going to continue to do that. We've just had a job fair today at the U of L where we're trying to highlight rural initiatives or rural opportunities for nurses. That's going to continue, and we're going to go international with that. We've also created what's called a pipeline. So we've created provincial postings where it targets LPNs or RNs within Alberta that aren't employed, but also RNs or LPNs within Canada looking for work and internationally. What happens is once they show interest or they apply, it goes to talent acquisition. An assessment is done, and then the displacement to a rural zone that is in need is then facilitated with HR. So the target again is rural zones based on the need. So again, Oyen will probably be a name that's put forward for that. That's another initiative going on. Agency nurses. As you know, Oyen has been using agency nurses. I think the last agency nurse we had was a former employee of the facility. They are temporary contracts that can go from 2 weeks to 3 months based on the need or the demand that's required. We have 2 more agency nurses coming here for the short term, and we have submitted for more agency nurses for a little bit longer period to allow this facility to move forward if we can. So that's in the works. We have refined our recruitment process. So a lot of the times, we talked about this today with the community leaders, it takes us time to get people onboarded. CRC is done. A lot of that and the delays cause us to lose people. We are expediting that process, and we're trying to get hires onboarding commenced a lot faster. We're working with our RMS systems and need people to get that done quickly. The biggest thing we're also looking at is our clinical workforce optimization. And this is really important for our rural communities or any communities. What we discovered is there's a lot of service reductions, and you probably all know this, in the north and central zones much more than us. And what they've discovered is we can't recruit our way out of this. So what that means is they keep applying or posting RNs, and they're not getting applicants. So we're asking those facilities now to look at, do we need an RN, or can we look at an LPN and a healthcare aide in the mix? And why that's important is that healthcare aide initiative I talked about is a feeder system like the LPN. So one of the things we're going to ask is, do we need to look at the skill mix of the environment? And how do we develop the skill mix needed for your area? So we know that right now, data is showing us we don't have enough RNs in the system to fill our vacancies right now. So we're going to have to work with our local sites and our local communities on what a skill mix looks like and how do we feed that. So that's going to be a big initiative. It's going to look at RN scope, it's going to look at LPN scopes. What we've learned when we did the assessments in the North Zone is RNs are doing a lot of basic care because they weren't hiring healthcare aides. So what they did is they hired healthcare aides and took a lot of that basic care needs away from the RN and allowed the RN to be more functional. It didn't put an RN in place, but it allowed the RN to be much more functional. So those are some of the things we're looking at and we're doing as we move forward.
Thank you, and I think we're going to go now to Scott.
Can you hear me okay? Good afternoon, my name is Scott Holdsworth. I'm the EMS Operations Director for the zone. I'm here to speak a little bit about EMS, and so in the town of Oyen, for those that don't know, we have one basic life support ambulance that is here in the town. During the service disruption, our plan is to keep that ambulance in the community as much as we possibly can, and so in doing that, what we plan to do, should a patient come to the hospital or through the emergency department during the day, need to be transported outside of the community, depending on the acuity of that patient or their sickness or their injury, if it's sort of that lower acuity, we'll go ahead and we'll pull an ambulance in from a different community to come and do that work. So we know that Hannah has 2 ambulances fully staffed right now. All 3 C's are fully staffed. Concert Coronation Castor. Provost as well. We're working with Medicine Hat to make sure that they can also back up this community should the need come arise. Should it be the other way around, where if somebody comes to the hospital that is quite sick or quite injured and needs to go on a more urgent basis outside of the community, we will use the ambulance within the community to do that. But at the same time, we're working with our dispatch group and setting some things into play exactly for this service disruption, that while the Oyen ambulance is leaving the community, one is also coming in to make sure that there's good coverage. So again, we might be looking at Hannah, Castor Coronation, either 3 C's, as well as Provost or possibly Medicine Hat. When it comes to, again, we're really working with our air program as well. So as you know, Oyen has a number of different ways that air can be used. Fixed wing is one of them, fixed wing is one of them that I know that there's some concerns with night landing right now with some of the projects that's going on with your wind turbines, but during the day, they're still able to come in and do that work. Same as STARS, 24/7 availability with STARS, and Halo, I understand, is also during the day they can come in. When there's service disruption occurs, our EMS staff have the ability to contact our online medical control or transport physician to initiate that air transport. So it's not a matter of having to have a doctor or facility open. We can initiate that through connection with our doctors on the line. I think that's, that's all that I have, but I do want to acknowledge a number of fire department members in the audience, and then thank you for your service and your partnership with us, as well as the police. Thank you for that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And then I think we're just going to turn it back to Linda or to Trevor, just to close us out before we go to the floor.
So just talking about next steps, where we will go with the situation that we currently have. We've had some excellent meetings the last couple of days with the municipal leaders and elected officials in the area. I'm really appreciative of their input and willingness to support us and work with us. We appreciate you listening to what we have to share, but a big part of why we're here is to listen to what you have to share with us. We definitely want to hear from you, and we want to learn from you, honestly and genuinely, so we do welcome that, and we'll be welcoming some questions here shortly. We also want to, I guess, look at collaborative opportunities on how we can engage and re-engage with some of our staff. So we recognize there's some changes to our structure and our leadership structure within the site, so we will be taking efforts to reach out to the staff that are currently on site and also staff that have worked in the area to see if there's interest in coming back and working with us. And then we'll be working, as Alison and Ernie shared, on some of the initiatives to look at some of the more midterm opportunities and some short-term opportunities to get the staff that we need to be able to open up the emergency department and the acute care beds, which is, at the end of the day, really our ultimate goal. So those are high level what our steps are. The other big one is ongoing commitment and regular two-way communication with the community and elected leaders and officials to ensure that situations like this we can avoid in the future by having better communication and open understanding of what the community is experiencing and what we need to do on the healthcare side to ensure that we don't get into the situation again. So, thank you.
Thank you. Linda, did you want to say anything?
So thank you very much, Carolyn. As a result of some of the meetings that we were able to have last evening and then an in-person one this afternoon with your municipal leaders from Oyen Special Areas, Acadia, and our MLA joined us. We do have a joint statement, and Carolyn, because I'm not there, I'm not sure what the agreement is about delivering that statement. Who's delivering that statement?
Linda, can you see the slide if you would like to?
Actually, I can't see the slides, but I think, excuse me, I think I have the statement in front of me, so I can read it out.
Okay.
It should be pretty close to what you're going to see on the screen. So Alberta Health Services, the town of Oyen, Special Areas, and the MD of Acadia number 34 have committed to continue working together through this service disruption and beyond. Through this collaboration, we will regularly come together to foster and build upon what we already have in the community to maintain a sustainable workforce and keep the Big Country Hospital open and available to the communities within the region. We thought that was important to share this evening because it's not just about fixing the immediate, but it is that ongoing work together with the communities to wrap our arms around the current workforce and the workforce of the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. And that is our presentation portion this evening. And so we're going to move into some questions and discussions. And I think I'm going to ask, you want that mic to be turned off? Okay, wonderful. So we're going to take this, and I'm just going to ask you to be patient with us. There are a lot of you. And so I think Gwen and I are going to run some mics. And if you have questions or comments, I will invite you to raise your hand and we'll try to get to you. Or Gwen, would you like people to come up? Okay, and maybe just one more thing before we get started. Just a reminder that we are in a very public forum. And so what I would ask as well is that we do respect each other and be mindful. I know that there's a lot of emotion right now, and none of us wants to be in this situation. So one of the things I will ask as well is that you be mindful that we respect people's privacy and just be thoughtful as you have your questions. And again, if we do run out of time, we have an email address that you can submit more questions to or reach out to us. Or you can leave a question, you can write it down, we have some paper, and we'll take that back and get back to you. So why don't we get started over here?
Sorry, can everybody hear me? Okay, my name is Kathy Hoffman. Most of you know me or someone in my family. I was a registered nurse at the Big Country Hospital for over 36 years. I just retired in June. I also represented the registered nurses with the United Nurses of Alberta for 29 years. So I believe I have a lot of experience to share with you. While I appreciate what these people are saying, and it's very nice to hear apologies now, but as a staff, we did every single thing we could. We wrote reports, we called people, we did interviews, we were investigated ourselves, we did everything on the computer, we filed every piece of paper with everybody we could think of, explaining our severe lack of management and poor management. And I can tell you at least half of the staff walked out of that building just because of the poor management. And I know they're acknowledging it now, but I want to know, where were you people 7 and 8 years ago when we I mean, I want answers and accountability for that. And you know it happened. We were told, Nicole and I were told in a meeting by HR that Oyen was full of nothing but complaining whiners. Those complaining whiners were us nurses, that we're seeing the failure of Alberta Health Services over and over and over again to support us. Do we want our families to die? No, nobody wants that. But where were you people when this problem started? It's been years, and every 2 years she renewed her contract.
Appreciate the question and absolutely fair comments to us, so appreciate that, and do apologize for the situation that we're in, absolutely. I can't change what's happened in the past. I can't change the situation that we're currently in today as of this moment, but you have our commitment as far as working with the staff and the community to ensure that we don't get in this situation again, that we have better leadership support to ensure that if situations do occur, that we have the right people in place to be able to respond and follow through our processes with investigations and do what's right to ensure that the staff are supported. As I mentioned before, a key ingredient to the services we provide to the staff, and we are nothing without our frontline staff that are providing service. So my sincere apologies to you and to the staff that you worked with and your colleagues that have chosen to leave. Absolutely. That is on me, that is on us. And so I feel horrible for that in the community and the situation and the impact that it's now having on everybody. But my commitment to, on the go forward, to ensure right from the recruitment of the next site leader to working with that staff to rebuild the trust of the staff team, I know it's not going to occur overnight. It's going to take some time, and we're going to have to prove that we understand and we listen and that we actually are willing to work with you. So I appreciate the comment, fair comment, thank you.
Michael Herman for Bylaws. Just a footnote on this, and then I'm going to ask something. Clearly from the applause, the awareness of this situation, the leadership problem at the hospital, is known by almost everybody in the room. This wasn't something that's just internal to the Oyen Hospital, internal to AHS. The awareness over all of these years was public knowledge. And I think that has to be acknowledged as well. That nothing was done, not only for the people working in the hospital, but all of us that have been aware of this for years and years and years. On a more positive note, could we hear a few words from our new site manager? I think it's important.
I wasn't going to sit up here. So my name is Andrea Ames. Right now I'm doing the interim role here in Oyen, but I'll be honest with you, I'm from Bizano, Alberta. And so I do live quite a ways away, and I'm probably physically not going to be in your community as much as you deserve. But that's just where my family is, and I'm not going to be able to relocate. I've worked with AHS on and off for 25 years. I'm an RN as a background. I grew up in Bizano. I went to university in Calgary to take my nursing, and I stayed in Calgary until about 2002, and life brought me back to Brooks, Alberta. I was first trained as the OR, as an RN in the OR, so I worked rural OR. And then I got married, had kids. I worked in the primary care network in the Bizano Medical Clinic for about 12 years. I continued on casual in Brooks OR and actually returned to casual in Calgary OR as well. And then an opportunity came up for an interim site manager role in Brooks and Bazzano, a combined one, and I took that role. And I'm not too sure how many weeks after that, Bazzano had a service disruption. And so there I was in my own community, where I was born and raised, 4th generation, and had to try and lead through a site disruption as well, based on doctors. So we got through that. The permanent site manager for that role did return, and I transitioned into a role with Connect Care. So if you've heard about Connect Care, and South Zone is approaching a launch for their Connect Care here in November. So I've been working as a senior implementation lead for that, and I'm trying to get all of our sites ready to go for that. And when the situation arose, I was approached by my director. I've worked with Allison in the past successfully in Brooks and Bazzano, and they asked if I would help out here in Oyen during this time, and I agreed to. We weren't really too sure what that was going to look like and how much time I'll be able to give, but right now, the direction that I have and that I intend to move forward with is to try and get our culture and our facility to where we all feel positive about the future. I am committed to doing everything I can to recruit in terms of, there's a lot of an interview process, there's a reference process, there's the onboarding process, working with HR. I intend to do that and hopefully just find a way to kind of keep us moving forward for sure through this service disruption. It's not easy, we all know that. It wasn't easy when we did it in Bazzano, and we've recently returned to offer our full services in Bazzano as well. So I think that's the best I can have to offer. I'm not going to be a permanent fixture in Oyen because, like I said, I'm 4th generation Bazzano, and other than I'm here for hockey lots. But otherwise, I hope that rural perspective that I can bring to the table. You know, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there in the community of Oyen that I have a lot in common with as well. So we'll work on it going forward, and I look forward to meeting the staff continually. When I am in, I try and communicate a lot, let them know when I'm there. Any staff who has left and wants to reach out to me about any of those positions or returning in casual, I'm very accessible, and I look forward to meeting you.
Okay, Gwen, who are we going to next?
Hi, I'm Heather Norris. I was on the Health Advisory Board for 4 years. I felt that my time on that board was pointless, that it was window dressing for Alberta Health Services, because we did submit a big report to Alberta Health Services about conditions that were happening here, and we had no reply at all from them. I have a question. I wonder, why are you offering half-time positions? Nobody's going to come to rural Alberta for a half-time position. I also would like to make a suggestion that if we're bringing in these agency nurses you're talking about, they're contracted nurses, is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Then if they need a place to stay, I wonder if the municipality would work with rooms at the lodge, because I hear there's a lot of rooms there.
We were working with the mayor today, and the community is very invested in participating with this. I'm sorry, your name was what again?
Heather Norris.
Hi, Heather. And so yes, those things are being asked. It's the community welcome as well, and the community fit, and that's why we partnered with your community leaders. Those are the things we're going to be looking at when it comes to how do we attract people to Oyen, accommodations, schooling, health, daycare, those things. So that is part of the connection that we've made with the municipal leaders. We're going to continue to do it. In regards to the contracted nurses, they are not a permanent fixture, they're temporary. We want them to get us through a period to allow us to potentially return to full services, but the goal is to recruit. What we have learned is a really good question about the small FTEs. What we have learned is we have posted full-time FTEs in the past too, and they didn't attract. The labor trend right now, it's interesting. I'm with you. I would think they would want full-time work, but we're actually hearing from the unions they want smaller FTEs. What I can say to you, though, is coming back, if people want to return to this facility or look at coming back, the FTEs are open for discussion on what it looks like and what they need.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, we'll go to this question, but I also want to make sure we get the people in the back as well. So I'm just wondering, after I see someone in the back there. Go ahead, please.
I'm Ina Haynes from Serial, and I'm not a good public speaker, so this will be quick. I have wrote letters. I'm on the other side of Kathy. I have wrote letters to the minister, to Premier, probably 4 years ago, and maybe 7 years ago. I got no response. Zip. Oh, and what do you mean by temporary?
Let me just clarify, for temporary. Oh.
Yeah, it's a great question. Our timeline is really reflective of our staffing. And so the minute we have adequate staffing to operate an emergency room 24/7 and operate the acute care beds, we will absolutely do it. But that is a rate limiting factor. And so right now, I think our slides show we require 7 staff to operate. Our full staffing contingent for emergency department and acute care is 7 staff. We currently have 2 staff that are on rotation and then some casuals. Really, we would like to see that complement up to 5 staff out of the 7 for us to comfortably be able to look at opening up that emergency department, which would then still leave some lines vacant, but with our casual staff and with 5 regular staff, there likely would be opportunity to pick those shifts up so that we wouldn't be in a situation where we've got the ED open or we've got some inpatients, but we may not actually have a nurse to be able to staff it, which is our biggest concern. So the core driver is really patient care. Appreciate the concern of not having access to it, but also on the care side, once we've got people there, we need to make sure that we are able to provide the care that we are advertising, and so that's where we are desperate need of the nurses to support our acute care in our emergency department.
Here, we're going to go to the back. We've got one here, and then I think there's another one over here as well.
I'm Pastor Shane. I'm the United Church minister in town, and I've been here for about 5 months now. I know a few years ago, Alberta scrapped spiritual care across the board and reinstated it. I'm just curious of why you aren't trying to lean on the ministers and the clergy in town to see if they would be able to help take on some roles within the hospital. I know there's the grow your own plan thing. Why not see if there's some kind of way that a spiritual care department position could be available to fill that need?
Thank you for that. We are looking at alternate skill mixes for sure as one of the things to say, like exactly what I shared earlier. The acute care side is mostly an RN, LPN, healthcare kind of focus, and that's based on practices and regulations. They're the most competent and skilled people to provide the patient care based on the acuity that comes in our buildings. But we are looking at, are there classifications or designations that can support them while they're doing that work as well? So we are looking at that, and it's called an alternate skill mix workforce. But for our acute cares and our EDs, we'll always be reliant on our very skilled RN, LPN, and healthcare workforce to deliver those services as patient care. But your point is well taken. We are looking into that.
Yeah, I would just like to add, actually, I believe it came up in our community engagement session that we had about a month ago, and so I appreciate the question, but I think that's part of our commitment to work better with the community, to get these ideas and understand what resources are within the community to be able to support places like the big Oyen Hospital, or the big country hospital. So with that, I think there's definitely opportunity for further dialogue to explore what support can be provided and how do we incorporate that in. We work on a multidisciplinary team all the time, and so Ernie's right. I mean, our RNs and our LPNs are there for a certain skill set because it's required, but we also know that care is more than just the medical care that's provided. So how do we incorporate that into the work that we do? So appreciate.
Trevor, before you give the microphone back, Dr. Aaron Lowe, who is our zone medical director, he is online on the Zoom, and he just has a few words to say. So if we could just, Dr. Lowe, the floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me? If I'm talking, you can see that I'm in a vehicle. Can you hear me, Gwen?
We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
So I just wanted to provide a reflection. You've heard our planned service disruptions. We haven't given up trying to figure out a creative solution that could allow some level of care for patients to be offered in Oyen, even starting Monday evening. And so I just want you to know you have an excellent physician group there. I was speaking with Dr. Mueller earlier, and we are working on some possible options that would be atypical but would allow some service. So we don't know for sure whether things are going to work out, but we're really trying to do that. And I just want to say also that your physician group is really great, and it is very fortunate. You heard Andrea speaking about Bassano, who had an issue with no physicians. There are many other communities within the province that are in that situation. Unfortunately, right now, that is not the problem in Oyen, which is in many respects really, which is excellent. So we are still working, and we have some ideas that we're working on that may allow us to continue to do some things. And obviously this is last minute, but that's the best that we can do. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Linda asked that I just clarify that you're speaking to the ED, the emergency department, with those solutions and whatnot. So thank you. We have a question here.
I'm Kenneth Fishbeck. I've been here in Oyen for 45.5 years. And a lot of the nurses that I've been involved with when I've been hospitalized have been retiring or have already retired. And I don't understand why, in 40 years, you guys have not figured out how to get more people here. When I went to college in the Okanagan, there were registered nurses being trained and practical nurses. So you can always go and check with colleges around, or I guess in Kelowna it would be the university, Okanagan University College. There's many ways you can get people to come. There are people graduating who would be like to getting a job. And the other problem is that Oyen doesn't have any vacancies around here for renting. And I've talked to the people doing the windmills, who are building these windmills, that there was no place to stay. And somehow they were finding places to go in people's homes, whatever. And I'm hoping all of them found homes, because it's mighty cold out there now. However, I think it's disgusting that we have to lose our nurses and not have any replacing them. When they're hired, you know, okay, 30 years, we need to have another person come in. 25 years, whatever. So it should be an ongoing system to, train, get people to come out to Oyen. There's lots of universities and colleges that you can have your notices for hiring. So it's totally unacceptable that we have to go without nurses in our small community. And it just goes to show people are saying, I never got any answers. The government doesn't listen to people in Oyen. Since Shirley McClellan is gone now, I guess they figure we don't exist. Well, we do, and I'm speaking aloud. Get with it.
So thank you for that. That is a focus. The trend seems to be shifting a little bit in our workforce. Since the pandemic occurred, and the same thing when we were in emergency measures and we tried to deploy people to our rural communities because they were in trouble. We actually had some of the kids that grew up in the communities that went off to education not want to go back to their own rural communities. So you're absolutely right. We need to pay attention to what's happening with the workforce. The trends are changing a little bit. We are noticing that the recruitment is more focused now on the metros and the urbans, and it's something we need to look at to identify. Prior to this, and Kathy will know that we used to have a trend where they would leave their local community, go off to the big city, get their education, but eventually they would come back home. We're not sure why, but right now we need to identify what that trend, and like I shared earlier, I'm sorry if that was missed, is TA does reach out to the universities and our graduating students and does have conversations with them and tries to recruit them to our rural facilities. And they do have a provincial pipeline that the universities are aware of to apply for rural positions as well. The workforce has changed.
You said TA. Can you
Oh, sorry, talent acquisition. It's an arm of human resources.
Just wanted to comment too in regards to the accommodation side of things. We did start some work with Shalane and the Acadia Foundation just prior to Christmas, and that will be resuming very shortly as well. So we'll be reaching out to look at some accommodation support.
Thank you, Gwen. We did have a question. There's someone who's been waiting over here for a little bit.
I'm just going to go to this gentleman, then I'll come there,
Okay.
and then I'm going to go to the back.
Fabulous.
I'm Bruce DeLobo from Acadia Valley. I've indirectly been a part of the healthcare system, I guess, for a lot of years. My dad was on former board. My wife, an RN for, I can't remember how many years, probably close to 40. Granddaughter worked here. I think to understand why this system broke is important, and the progression of it, the problems that have been associated with its undoing. I'm not just complaining, I think I have an idea that could be a part of the solution. There's a group of healthcare givers, past, who gather every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is. They all get together, and I don't know how big the group is, but it's RNs, healthcare workers. They're all local. They all quit, resigned, or left for various reasons. But I know they could offer a wealth of information to anyone that would be looking to fix this solution, fix this problem. I'd highly recommend that they be involved in designing a solution.
No, that's a great idea. We were chatting earlier. I mean, really, if people here know of individuals who would be interested to come back or want to open up the discussion, see what is possible, how do we work around their schedule? We're definitely open to it. And so Andrea and Allison definitely would be our point of contacts for anybody that you may know. We'll be here for a while afterwards, and Andrea will be here tomorrow too, and we can leave our contact information, and we're happy to follow up with any individual that you may know, to be able to talk to them firsthand and let them know what is available and how we will be able to work with them.
You didn't hear what he said.
I'm sorry?
You weren't listening to that gentleman. You didn't hear what he said.
Well, my apologies. I thought he had talked about a group of individuals that meet regularly and that may be willing to come back and be able to offer some support.
No, that's not what he said.
Oh, then my apologies.
You're asking if there would be conversations with those who have left and no longer wanted to work for the hospital because of issues that they face, and get their feedback as to why and what is going on in the hospital.
This is the province not listening, right here in this room.
Well, we appreciate that, and this is why we're here, is to get these clarifications. So thank you very, very much for that. So I think what I'm hearing as well is, so there's seeing if we could seek out from those who have left for various reasons to see if they'd be willing to share with us.
Yes.
Is that right? Am I getting it?
Yeah, start listening.
Okay. So, thank you. Okay, pardon me?
Start listening.
Thank you.
And hearing.
Well, sorry, with that, definitely the answer is yes. We would be interested to hear from and listen and hear from those individuals that have been here, just what it was like and the input that they have on what we need to do to make it better. So my apologies for misunderstanding. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie Ross. I have a few questions. One, where do you want us to go to access care? We live a long ways from everywhere. I understand when you guys talk about Bazzano and these other communities, you're so close to other places. We are a long ways with no cell service. And can these other communities can Hannah handle us coming? Can Kindersley handle us coming? That's obviously a different province. Where do we go? What's the expectation on that? And two, is there conversation about, you talk about going to the universities and recruiting have there been more seats open? From my understanding, there has not been for a very long time. If we're not making more nurses, no more nurses are coming. Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning it. I forgot to mention that the government has given funding to increase RN and LPN seats. One of the challenges we're finding is the educational institutions then have to accommodate to be able to teach that expansion. And so we're working with the universities and the colleges to expand seats for RNs, LPNs, and healthcare aides. We just need to work with them to allow them to get the teaching capacity to deliver the more courses. So yes, that's a good point, and that is going to continue to grow. As the universities grow in capacity to teach, we are adding more seats. So thank you for reminding me of that. I don't have the details, but I'll get it to the community and share that with you. But there were a few seats with the University of Lethbridge College and Medicine Hat College.
Is MLA Horner still here? I just wonder if he might be able to, are you able to speak to the number of seats that are being added?
It's going to depend on what it'll depend on what the post-sex can provide. The envelope of funds goes to them. We're trying to put the pressure on them to provide as many seats as possible for X number of dollars. So we don't want to be prescriptive and say, here's a seat for 25 grand to post-secondary X, but we're going to say, here's a lump of money, what can you do? And we have the post-sex competing for it so they can produce more with X number of dollars. But we'll need to see what comes out the other end. But it's meant to be competitive between the post-sex, but we do put an elevated criteria on where they're at. I think they mentioned Medicine Hat and a few others, so we're trying to do it locally in Southern Alberta. I wanted to make one comment. Well, they gave me a mic back. There was a comment about, you know, letters written to ministers and premier, and nothing was returned. I haven't been there long. I've been there since 2019, and I promised everyone I was going to be very positive and forward-looking as we're looking for a solution here. I would say this situation in Oyen has been unique. It's the only situation like this I've encountered across the riding, and there's been numerous attempts to make a change through the political avenues, and it hasn't happened. So I think these people are sincere when they're looking for a change in the feedback loop, because we need a way that the community, if they can't do it through an MLA and a cabinet minister, then there needs to be a way through AHS. And so that's what needs to come out the other end of this.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to go back to the first part of your question, which was about knowing we have some long distances and where do we go. So I'm wondering if we can have an update just on what are some options for people.
Yeah, we have had some dialogue with some of the local facilities or facilities that are closer by. We absolutely recognize the travel distances there. We've talked to our counterparts in the central zone with some of their facilities. We're working with our EMS partners as far as capacity, and our big push right now is to get the emergency department open and the acute care beds open as soon as possible. That truly is our focus right now, and trying to limit the length of the service disruption. But the facilities that are available would be the ones, and I don't have a list readily available, but some are within the south zone and some would be within the central zone.
I think we had Hannah.
There was a
I'll have to look at my list.
Yeah, you know what, I think we had that in the article, the public service announcement, so we'll make sure we get that out here. And let me just get that maybe while we're having this conversation. Let's go to the next question right here, please.
Yes, thank
We'll
you.
get to you people in that.
Clint Stanley from Empress. We've gone from, over the years, we've gone from total autonomy, where we had a self-governed, locally elected hospital board here, where problems like this were dealt with swiftly and efficiently. And it worked, and we gave that up when we went to regionalization. Now the decision-making moved to Medicine Hat, but we still were able to send a representative. Then we went to one board, which to me is central planning, and I don't like that. And we have no representation there anymore. And the unfortunate downside to central planning is you end up with a thick layer of bureaucracy between the decision makers and the boots on the ground. And that bureaucracy has failed. There's been plenty of evidence presented here tonight. It's failed miserably. So my question is how do we as a community get re-engaged in the decision-making process? Is there a way, we have civic leaders here who are very passionate about this in the community. Is there a way they can be at the decision-making table? Now, I don't want to hear about a token committee or an advisory board or anything like that. I want local civic leaders here at the table where the decisions are being made pertaining to this facility. This top-down thing that's why we're here.
Linda, can I ask if you might have some comments?
I can try, but unfortunately, the audio is such that I'm only getting bits and pieces of what I'm speaking.
Linda, why don't I go to...
situation by appearing like I'm not listening.
Okay.
I actually missed a lot of the comment. I think what I heard was the reality observation for Oyen and area, that you went from having your local boards, then you became part of Palliser, where you had some voice, and now it's gone to Alberta Health Services, where there is no local voice, frustrated with the bureaucracy. There's evidence of the failure of the current system based on where we're at today. A call-out request for the community municipal leaders to be involved in the decision-making around the hospital. Did I understand that?
Yes, I did, Linda.
Okay. And so we, certainly for Dr. Lowe and myself working with Trevor and, Dr. Kitts, etc., I mean, we can certainly commit to engaging with the local, leaderships in terms of listening and advisory. The bigger issue in terms of a formal structure in place for municipal leaders to be actively engaged in making decisions about how a hospital is run. I think respectfully, that is something that is larger issue, within not just Alberta Health Services, but, with our government in terms of, the structure and how we're structured. So what we will commit to do is that ongoing conversation, as we said earlier, with our municipal leaders, not just about, the recruitment. I mean, that's the big, the big piece in terms of consultation around services changes, etc. In addition to not just using Health Advisory Council, but actually having more a direct connection with the community.
Does that resonate? Does that resonate? Can you tell me a little more? Hold on. I'm on my way to the back. Okay, just a moment. I just wanted to do a check-in here, just for Clint here, just before we leave this question.
Yeah, in response to Linda's comments, she alluded to perhaps civic leaders, I don't know what the proper term is, maybe weren't sufficient or qualified to be part of the decision-making process for this facility. I take exception to that. When we were an autonomous hospital here, these were exactly the people who made the decisions, and it worked. So to say that our local civic leaders maybe don't have what's required to sit at the same table with you people is a little bit offensive. Thanks.
Just a moment, please. I'll just hold on, Linda. We don't have a mic for you yet.
I'm coming.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, my apologies if that's how my comments were interpreted. I in no means meant to imply that the civic leaders, the local leaders, are not qualified to to assist or make local decisions. What I'm trying to refer to is the current structure that is in place within within Alberta Health Services, as outlined, through the Minister creation of Alberta Health Services, and the consultation that we can do with you and the advice that you can provide, and we haven't obviously done a good job of that, is different than what we saw before, whereby local leaders were part of boards where decisions were actually made, and then we in operations carried them out. So my sincere apologies if I implied that I was talking about the skill level. I'm talking about the governance structure that we all currently work in. And so what we're committed to is we need to step back, and I think one of the earlier individuals commented about, learning about how did we get here, and one of the pieces certainly is the need for us to do our engagement and our consultation with communities much better, particularly in rural communities, and particularly when we're talking about any kind of service change, whether it's a result of staffing and workforce or others where we're looking to add services, change services, etc. So my sincere apologies.
Thank you, Linda.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Graham, and I've been fortunate enough to work for 2 healthcare teams in Oyen. I currently work for both still. There's a couple of things. For one, I've been working for Alberta Health Services for 5 years already, and I'm 20 years old. That's because I took my healthcare course within my high school in Hanna, Alberta. That was also offered in Oyen. It has now been taken away from both high schools. That needs to be brought back to have people engaged to work in these facilities. This is a small community. We need our youth engaged who want to be in our hospitals. Another thing that I would like to note on is you guys have all told us that you guys have talked to colleges and post-secondaries, and we appreciate that very much. But if you guys are unaware, there is a large amount of post-secondaries that you have named that their LPNs and RNs know not to come to practicum to Oyen because of the mess we had in our hospital. So if you're wondering why they're not coming here, there is your answer. That's awful to say, but what has happened to our hospital is now just not in Oyen. It is aware all over, and we need to get it under control. Please and thank you. Our health staff need to finally feel appreciated in this town because they deserve it. They're the most kind, health working staff I have ever got the chance to meet, and they deserve better, please. In the next little while here, I also have a question. I would like to know if we will be having meetings bi-weekly, monthly, what date they will be, what time they will be, so we can be informed of all the changes happening with your board and all the other boards to get our hospital 24/7 again, please.
Appreciate the comments and fair comments. As far as the regularity of feedback, I may reach out to Gwen too, just to talk about some of the feedback from this meeting, but I know are talking about continual dialogue with municipal leaders, and so we are looking to have regular meetings so we understand what's happening, and we'll look to commit to report back to the community. So the changes that we're making, the progress that we're making, the barriers that we're up against, we want to be fully transparent with the group and the community. So from an organizational perspective, that's what we will commit to. If you're referring to within the site or within the healthcare services itself and within the staff teams, then I may pass it over to Allison or to Andrew to speak to that. But if you're talking about this forum and reporting back the progress we're making, I'll definitely work with our municipal leaders and report back to the community.
I just want the whole community aware of the changes that are going to be happening so this mess doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Gwen, go ahead.
Carolyn, I was just going to say, we have committed to putting together sort of a what we heard document for tonight and making sure that, you know, we're hoping to have captured everything. And so I know a lot of you signed in with your email addresses or contact information when you came in the door. I'm not sure if all of you did, but many of you did. And then Caroline, is it the community engagement at?
Yeah, it's community.engagement@ahs.ca. We'll be sending out some communications, and I think we'll be doing updates as things progress. So if those are if that's something you want to be kept updated on, please make sure to leave your email address with us, or I think we will also be communicating in other channels as well.
Yeah, and so if you hadn't written down your contact email and whatnot, if you can send it to community.engagement@AHS and just flag it for Oyen, and we will compile that with the others.
And that will come to me. And I'll make sure we get it taken care of.
They didn't answer one question.
Go ahead.
Why did they take it out of the high school?
Okay. You know, that probably is something for Alberta Education.
Yeah, that's correct. It wouldn't have been, I don't believe it would have been Alberta Health Services, it would have been Education.
Push Alberta Education to get put back in our schools? Can that question not be for asked?
Absolutely.
I'm sure we could.
Absolutely. Linda, the question was just if we can approach Alberta Education about putting those programs back in schools and in communities like Hannah and Oyen. And we'll make note of that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a question here.
Hi, thank you. My name is Corinne Heffernan. I'm a membership service officer from AUPE. My question is in regards to shutting down here. What are we doing with the staffing situations in the other area? Are you sure that there are staffed to take the load from Oyen on with the patient care? As I know that Hannah, for example, has closed 10 acute beds. So where are they to go?
We have reached out to our leadership in the Central Zone that oversee those sites, so they are aware of the service disruption or the temporary service disruption here. And so, as far as I know, and I can't necessarily speak for those sites, but in discussion with their leadership, they're aware and understood that there may be increased volume both in the emergency department but acute care due to the temporary closure here. So they are informed.
Maybe just for the benefit for those who might not know the AHS zones, when we're talking about Central Zone, can you give a little bit of a description of what you mean?
Yeah, so the province is broken up into 5 zones. We reside here within the South Zone. Calgary is a zone in and of itself, and then Central Zone is really the Red Deer area, the Consort, the Hannah area. So it does kind of straddle Oyen, but Oyen does live within the South Zone, so that's why we do work in close partnership, because really the closest facilities, like I mentioned, aren't actually within the South Zone, they're within Central Zone. So that's another area that we actually reached out to too in terms of staffing and looking at the casuals and the staff that they've got as we were looking for solutions to provide support here. So we are meeting regularly and to look at creative solutions, because they also are struggling for some similar challenges. So again, it's looking at this rural corridor and seeing how we can support one another. Just the question on the education piece, to be honest, full transparency, I'm not well versed in it, but it did come up in our afternoon meeting as far as the value. of those education components. So as Glenn mentioned, we've definitely made note of it and happy to follow up and see what we can do to raise that and advocate for that. So thank you.
Just for clarity on that question, and I think probably Allison or Andrea will be able to answer this, just more in direction to the acute care patients that were in Oyen Healthcare Center. What happened to them? How did that get facilitated? Where have they gone? And who did you work with to make that happen?
So we're at one patient left. One patient. We had someone who was able to go home. Two went home. We had one patient who was already slated to go to a supportive living area, and then we're just working with our current patient, and they'll most likely be going to another rural facility in an acute care area. So we've been able to work with all of them and their families.
But not to Bow Island.
Not to Bow Island, no.
Okay. So I think we have time for a few more questions.
Can we have, sorry, back here, I just have another one, and I'm just going to verbalize it, and then I will go to the back, so hold tight. Just can you clarify what we need for RNs in order to open back up the ED and acute? What does that look like in terms of either actual people or full-time equivalent numbers? Can you clarify that for the folks here?
So we have the current vacancies that we posted. As we've noted, we're happy to hear from anyone who had left the facility, who would like to come back, and we can be really flexible on making some adjustments to those current positions so that it'll work for those people coming back. To get us open again, it really depends on who's willing to come back and what amount of time they're willing to commit for a position. If we have people who are willing to come back as casual, that will absolutely support us, but we need to have some positions filled. It's hard to say an exact number of positions that need to be filled because it really just depends on people that are, what they're willing to take on. So if we have someone willing to take on a full-time position versus, then that would allow us to look at opening sooner than if we had just one person willing to take one of the part-time positions. So it really is dependent on who we have coming forward. So unfortunately,
one of the things I'll also do is we have a casual pool, and I'm not familiar with these names. So one of the things I am looking to do is to reach out to those people in the casual pool, and hopefully they're honest with me too, to let me know really realistically what they can give. And there's a lot of reasons why people choose to work casual, and some of it is they don't want to be in a permanent situation, or they don't want to be in an FTE. They want flexibility. And sometimes it's that, they still have a lot of hours they can give. So I'm going to start having those conversations, and when we see what that casual pool looks like too, we might actually not have very many casual staff. If I call them and they say, the best I can give is maybe 1 to 2 shifts per month, versus somebody who says, yeah, I really would like to pick up, say, 6 shifts per month. That's information that we need as well.
Thank you both.
So we really want to hear from those nurses that we have heard have left the facility or gone casual. We want to hear from them, and we want to work with them, and so that we can get them working again at the facility, and we can get it open again. That's our goal.
Thank you both. Carolyn, I have 2 questions back here.
I've been in Oyen for a little while. For 20 years, and since we've been here, labor and delivery has shut down, reopened, shut down again, and reopened and shut down again. Is this going the same way of just trying, of feeling out what there is, or are we working to try to reopen it?
Is Dr. Lowe still with us?
I don't believe he is. We have Dr. Kitts.
Dr. Kitts may be able to answer that.
Dr. Kitts, did you hear the question? just about obstetrical services that they've been opened and closed and opened and closed. Sorry, say that again? Yeah.
I say...
Just a moment, please. Just a moment, please, Dr. Yes.
I say, is this the same pattern of closing down, feeling what is out there, how much interest there is, and then going the same way as labour and delivery has gone for our hospital, and eventually the hospital will go that way too?
My apologies. I misunderstood, so I directed to Dr. Kitts, but I think Aaron or, Trevor or Allison might answer that.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Kitts, we're going to go to Trevor.
Yeah, it's our full intent to open the hospital and emergency departments permanently, and so working with our municipal leaders, we're looking at the accommodation piece, we're looking at other ways to engage and invite people to the community over and above. And we're open to hearing ideas too on what we need to do to be able to support individuals to come to the community. It really is a staffing issue for us, and so appreciate the leadership component and the culture aspect that we need to improve on to make it an environment where staff want to work and not just come but stay. So we have full intention to do what we need to be able to recruit staff, but also work with the community to keep them here so that we can keep the hospital open. So thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Can you pass to Allison? Linda has a comment. Go ahead, Linda.
So thank you very much. And again, I'll just reinforce what Trevor has shared, and appreciate the comment around what you've seen related to obstetrics, and is this the pattern related to the whole facility. So again, our commitment is we will do everything that we can with you collectively and with all the other resources that we can bring to the table to get staffing back in place so that we can reopen and keep open the services that we currently have, the emergency departments, some inpatient beds, long-term care, some outpatient services, etc. So that is the commitment to work together. And again, it's all contingent on us working together to get the staff, keep the staff, and build that plan for the sustainable future. As one of the individuals has, commented on, why don't you have a plan for replacing the next person that's leaving? So we are facing the same shortage that others are facing, but we have the opportunity in Oyen, with your support, to actually become a community that becomes a shining star in Alberta because of the community support, the ability to wrap around to keep people in the community and bring new people to the community. So we can't do it alone. We have no intentions of going down that same path, but we can't do it alone because we are facing the same workforce shortage that the rest of Alberta is facing. And as we said before, it's not just Alberta, but together, if you create that community wraparound, we could be the shining star in Alberta in terms of being able to maintain staff in the community, and people want to come here.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, just a moment. I have a gentleman here to share.
I'd just like to reiterate just what Linda has said. Linda Lawson, she gave me a phone call here a few days ago and asked if she could meet with community leaders, that they have a problem. I said, certainly. We rounded up the 3 community leaders, which it was Jordan and myself and Pete, and we had a Zoom meeting, and it was quickly apparent that they were very, very concerned about the situation in Oyen and how can we solve it and can we get together. And we did. We've met for 4 days here now, and we kept expanding our people that was involved. Nate was aware of things that were happening right off the bat. He was talking with the minister, and so we had full support from there. And I just want to thank Linda and her team. They have worked tirelessly hard to get where we are. Yes, it isn't going to happen overnight, but we're collaboratively doing it, and that's the word we need to use, you guys. And I called in Barb from Concert because they have a problem. Half their people come to Oyen, and I've talked to all three of our doctors. We've sat down. We had at least 3 meetings a day, and they are sincere, you guys. And what's happened in the past has happened. 7 years ago, we used to have we had a local health task force. There was some change in the leadership in AHS, and the person that we were collaborating with them left, and it sort of fell apart. Okay, that we didn't do that anymore. And I know they're committed. We've talked about meeting once a month. I know they're committed to that. I think that we all band together. We can be the leaders of the change in health in rural Alberta. We really can be. But we've got to do it all together. I just want to say, I want to thank all the nurses that have been working, and they've been working tirelessly. They've gone over the end, and these people recognize that, and they've said that to us more than once at our meetings. And I sincerely want everybody to get behind. We do need help in the nurses. We can't open a hospital if we don't have nurses. And they're willing to look at and talk to anybody, whether they want to work 1 shift, as they said already, a month, or they want to work 10 shifts or 6, or work 4 days a week. They are willing to accommodate. And they're not just doing it for us because they see the writing on the wall that this could happen elsewhere. And we as community leaders need to step up and help whatever we can, whether it's with housing, transportation, whatever. We help the doctors, so we talked about helping bring nurses in. They need to find them, we can't find them. We may have some local ones, and if you got some relatives that are nurses looking for a job, come and talk to these couple ladies here. I'm dead serious, you guys. The longer we let this happen, the longer it takes. If we could fill those things in 3 days, we'd be open in a week or less. But we do need help. They've been very collaborative. The minister is on side. Nathan, our MLA, has been on side, and we've had numerous. And there's other people in the health industry at the higher level that are supportive of what we're doing. And I'd like to thank you guys for all coming out. I mean, it's great to see this. I mean, I know we talked about a smaller venue, and I used to say, there's going to be 300 people here. And I thank you all for coming. And I thank you for listening. But we have a crisis here where we need to have some nurses. And if we can find them, wherever we can find them, have them come and talk to these girls here. Okay? That's all. And thanks a lot, Linda. And thanks for giving me a ring. And thank you to you people. Seriously. I know we sat together side by side there. It was great. Honest, you guys. They're on our side. Okay?
And we're just going to go back to Gwen in the back there. Gwen?
We're good.
Okay, I've got one question up here. And then I think, let me just come up here.
What about the ambulances? You're only staffed for 1 unit. You have 2 in the bays. Will we be looking for more EMTs, EMRs, and paramedics at some point to line up their loads that they will be thrown at?
Fully functional?
Yeah. So, Scott, just...
Here, I'm coming.
We're going to get your workout today.
Good, thank you. Good question. So, in the recent past, we've had some difficulty staffing, and today we're actually in a good place, and I agree that we need to move forward with the staffing that we have. So we do have 1 staffed ambulance, we have 2 in the base, so we've always had 2 here, but again, given the distance, that ambulance is more used as a spare for when the other one breaks down, there's mechanical inspection needs to occur, that sort of thing. We need to look forward. we have a supervisor that comes out here on a regular basis as well.
Yeah, but their load is going to be doubling now, moving patients and helping. And
During the partial service disruption meeting?
And we had 2 functioning ambulances, 2 staff. You only have 2 full paramedics in town right now, that's it.
Yeah, but, so it only takes 2, as you know, right? So there's 4 staff on. So the ambulance is staffed and ready to go today.
One ambulance.
One ambulance. Just 1 second. So, as I mentioned, during the service disruption, we're going to rely on our neighbors to come in and support and do some work that we can. As far as the second ambulance, yes, it was a flex ambulance, or a peak ambulance, I should say. So it was on staff during the day. It is something that we're still looking at, but we really need to focus on maintaining the 1 ambulance that we have.
So what I'm saying is your staff right now is already very overworked.
Understood.
They need help, and it seems like you guys are not looking for help.
We're constantly looking for help. So there's a recruitment process that's ongoing provincially, as we all likely know. EMS is suffering. We're trying to find staff as well. It's difficult to find. They're all tired. I totally get that. We're doing the best that we can to recruit who we can.
So when are they going to drop the vax mandates to go to school for EMS?
That's a good question. I don't know. I wouldn't have the answer for that.
Because you would have lots of people going.
So the question was, when will the vaccine mandates be dropped for EMS students? I've got a question here.
Well, mine was EMS too, so I'll add to that a little bit. I'm Roger. I'm a fire chief for Katy Valley and I own an MFR. But I think we should have had a 50-50 ticket tonight because everybody in here, we could have raised some good money. This is overwhelming. This is pretty good. But I want to go back to, I don't know if your question was totally answered, so I'm going to ask it again. Last month we had 14 days without EMS. I think November we had half a dozen. Every month we have no EMS, so you're guaranteeing us now that over this disruption, we will definitely have an ambulance here. Like you've changed something.
24/7.
24/7. Because I know we had 14, I don't know if everyone here is aware, but we had 14 days in December, we had no ambulance service here at all. So that puts a lot of task on the...
Absolutely, totally agree, and yes, the commitment today is to make sure that we have an ambulance here. I can't dictate what work that they'll do, and again, like I mentioned before, should somebody that's very sick or very hurt need to be moved right away, then that ambulance has to be used to do so, but we're going to backfill that ambulance as soon as we can.
So we've done something different to have ambulances still 24/7. Like you have the staff lined up for the next 3 weeks.
We do.
Okay, that's good. That was my question. But thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. How to get you guys off the hot seat and get the EMS finally. You didn't say nothing tonight.
It's all good.
Get you on the hot seat. Sorry, I was getting text while I was sitting there too. We had another question. Halo. As stars, we did mention that they're not able to travel at nighttime. Halo, right now, have you guys done a backup with them? Because we're only getting service from 7 to 7 and during the daylight, so have you done something more with Halo and stars to make sure that they're coming here or more available?
Yeah, that's it.
Because I got a lot of chatter here, so I got a lot of questions here.
So again, I'm just going by the information I got from our AIR program that Halo does come during the day, or is available to come during the day. STARS is still available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The fixed wing airplanes are a little bit different right now. And again, because there's some turbine projects going on near the airport, they're unable to fly at night into here. So that, I believe, is near correction. We just need to know, or our air program needs to know that lighting has been fixed, and then we can start to fly in with the planes as well. And again, our EMS staff have access to bring that in, not even necessarily through a doctor or nurse.
All right, I've got the word 2 more. I see a hand here and I see a hand there, and you've had yours up for a while, so I will get to you. You will be our last question of the night.
Hi, I just have a question. Respectfully, I'm so excited for the future collaboration, but I would like to know going forward, you know, nurses are bound by professional codes of conduct, and if they're filling in those reports and they're filing that documentation, going forward, how are they going to know that's where the information is, that's where the boots on the ground is? Like, you can tell me lots of things, but they know. So how going forward will that information be respected and listened to, and how will that change? Because obviously this is where it's happening, it's going to change, but can you promise us and promise future nurses, or the nurses who feel a lot of pressure now maybe, how is it going to change? How are they going to be heard and listened to in the future?
Thank you. So I can absolutely say that from my end, I will commit that will be done. We'll be listening, and then with Andrea as well, we've got a team meeting, a staff meeting that we'll be setting up just next week. There'll be regular staff meetings that will be happening at the site. Those weren't happening on a regular basis before, so that will be a good avenue for feedback and dialogue back and forth. And we'll also be, once we have our permanent site manager in place, we'll be really working forward on that change in culture and making sure that that at our level we're listening and hearing and going back to staff and responding with what we can and trying to make changes and make positive changes to our culture.
Are you okay with that answer? Okay. Last question for the night.
Hi, sorry I have no voice, but anyway, I'm an HCA. I've been out for a year for health reasons, and I'm hoping I can be back in April. First day, I want to thank all the co-workers, my co-workers, RNs, HCAs, that they have been working really hard and overtime and burning out. They're burning out. The reason we don't have staff, I think, my opinion, is because our managers that we used to have, they never listened to us. We have put complaints against them, and myself, especially, I had a slap kind of on the face by a letter from HCA to tell me I was the troublemaker, not her. So that's why a lot of our workers has quit and retired, because they couldn't take it anymore. So what I'm trying to say is, we like to get that trust back from you guys. We want the truth. We don't want to run around and tell us little stories. We want the truth, what's going on. I have daughter-in-laws, and I have a granddaughter that she's thinking about going nursing. My thing is always say, be careful, because it's very tired and it's wonderful to help people. But with the experience that I had in here in this hospital with our manager, it was not nice. I got picked every single time that manager saw me. And that's the reason I am here on the sick leave, because her. And because if you guys don't fix this problem, we're gonna have a lot more HCS and RNs and LPNs that they're gonna keep quitting. So you guys have to give us the trust. Listen to us. When we put a complaint, listen to us. Don't just shove us on the side and pretend you didn't hear it, or make the paperwork disappear like it has happened in the past. And thank you to all my HCS co-workers, because they work really hard to make this stop for all of them, RNs, LPNs, and HCS. They are very hard workers and very caring people.
Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing, and my apologies for your experience and your colleagues. I think it's mentioned, we're going to have to earn your trust, the trust of you and your colleagues. We're hoping with new site leadership and more involvement from the community, we'll have better understanding and better connection to what's happening, so that we can be involved when needed. And my apologies for what you've experienced in the past and what the team has experienced in the past. We do have full commitment though, and we are committed to earning back your trust and the trust of your colleagues, so that we can provide a better work environment for the people here and ensure that we've got adequate staffing to provide service. So thank you for sharing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, for your honesty, for your time, and for caring. And you know what, we do know we've got some trust to to rebuild and some relationship, and what's clear as well is that you want that relationship. So thank you for that. We are going to close this evening, but the conversation is not over. So again, I know there were a lot of hands that we weren't able to get to, but we would like to hear from you as well. So please see us at the back or email us, and we will follow up. Linda, and I'm going to ask if you can close, share some reflections, and have some closing words for us tonight.
Thank you. Let me know when you're ready, if you can hear me. Okay, thank you very much. And again, my apologies for not being there, excuse me, in person. So just want to reiterate our sincere thank you for each and every one of you who have joined us this evening. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your passion. And we've heard what you're telling us in terms of we need to hear you, we need to listen to you, but then we also need to respond and act. And in that formula, we need to listen to current staff, past staff, and community leaders, people who experience the system, as well as the community leaders. We are committed, as we've said, to ongoing communication, consultation with our municipal leaders, and we'll work through what that looks like. We're committed to the communication at the site with the staff and the community updates, so that there's the best mechanisms possible to get the updates out to the community. We will be working actively to recruit a permanent leader, as we've said before. In the meantime, working with our interim leader, and a huge thanks to Andrea for helping us out. Very committed for Allison, to be working with the site and with the leadership, Trevor, etc. But as indicated, we can't do this alone. We need to get staff. That's the magic formula. We need to get staff, and we need your support. We do understand that we need to rebuild the trust, and we need to work with the current staff and with the communities. But at the end of the day, we need to work together. And we are here to listen to you and here to really help. I think, as has been indicated, which is resonating how we got here, and using that as the recipe to move forward. And to your Mayor, Doug, thank you for your kind comments, but thank you for your quick response and reaction to helping us to be able to engage with yourself and your municipal colleagues. Thank you very much to our MLA, who's also been very available, sat with us this afternoon, has attended tonight, is as he's identified, through his avenues, is making sure that the appropriate individuals are aware, will help us, as best it can in terms of removing any of the barriers. And, when we talk sometimes, it sounds like we're coming with all the reasons why we can't. So what we need to do is help understand together how some of the past ways to solve maybe didn't work, but what are some different flexible ways to be able to get at the joint outcome. And that joint outcome is to get the staffing in place as soon as possible so that we can reopen services. And as we speak, we are in conversations to try to see what we can do on a more interim basis, because we've heard loud and clear one of the immediate concerns is access to EMS and access to emergency services for those critical situations, while we're working to put together the staffing plan. So on behalf of all of Alberta Health Services, the South Zone, huge thank you, and looking forward to working together to put Oyen services back in place. And again, be that shining star, as Doug had also referred to, in terms of showing the way around how to maintain important services in rural Alberta at a time when we're all competing for the same resources. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you again for all of you for attending. And I don't think we have enough snacks, but we do have some. so please stop. We will be here for a visit. Thank you for dedicating and giving up your time to us this evening. The email address is up there if you want to take a picture of it and follow up with us. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.